Hear your story.
My name is Caren Perry, and this is His Story. When I think about my testimony, there are many things that come to my mind. He's done amazing things in my life. But when it comes to my healing that I had several years ago, my daughter was born in June of, it was of 97. And she was just a few months old, and I found a lump in my breast in December, right before Christmas. And I didn't want to say anything to anybody right before Christmas, so I waited till January, and I went to the doctor, and they did a needle biopsy, and it came back that it was cancer. But the doctor said since I was nursing my child, that it might not be cancer. So she wanted to do a biopsy. And there's no way not to have fear when someone starts talking about cancer. So I kind of sat on that, a little bit, and I noticed that I was getting a little uncomfortable. So I called her in March and said, okay, I'm ready to do the biopsy. And she scheduled the appointment the next day to do the biopsy, which happened to be my 35th birthday. So we did the biopsy. She came into the room afterwards, and yes, I have cancer. And she said, we got it. It was like the size of a lemon. We got it. It's all good. Done. So we went home, and I was like, wow, they got it. We're good. And never had experience with cancer with myself or any family before. So I thought, we're all good. And she, when we had the follow-up appointment, she told me what she wanted to do with having a mastectomy and all the follow-up that she wanted to have done, and what her prognosis was and diagnosis should be done. And I was like, fear gripped me then again. And so went home. We were having a revival at our church that week. So Tony was leading worship at church, and he was going to church, and I just began to pray, and I was watching some healing testimonies. And I just had the Lord deposit in my heart that I'm not to do anything else right now. So I didn't do anything else. And just started eating better and making sure, doing everything in myself that I could do. For months I tried no meat or dairy or anything. I'd really tried for a long time. Not months, it was actually a year or two. Just had just vegetables and grains and just steamed vegetables, really. But there was a point that I said, okay, is God my healer, or am I going to heal myself? And so I had to kind of let up on some of that. I do try to still, not to the extent I was living it for a while, but you can get yourself under that bondage of what I'm doing, but instead of trusting that He's got the plan and He'll work it out. Well, about June of 98, I found a lump in my armpit. And so I called her back and said, I need another appointment. And she still wanted the same thing. And even the day before, I called her and I said, I just not feeling like I know what I want to do. And so the day of the surgery, we went in, and the whole time the Lord has just deposited in my heart that I was going to live and not die. That was always the thing. I was pretty much confident that I wasn't going to die. I never really had fear of that. It's just everything you have to go through. But the day of the surgery, she comes in there and says, okay, what are we doing? And I'm like, well, I don't want to do the mastectomy. She was to the point of being very upset with me, and she kind of threw up her hands and walked out of the room. And so that I'm laying there on the bed, and it's like, okay. She comes back and she says, okay, this is what we'll do. What if I do a biopsy of the original site where you had cancer? And then she goes, and understand, when I get in there under your armpit, I don't know what we're going to find. And I said, she says, what if we have a biopsy and there's cancer in the original site? I said, if you find cancer in the original site, go ahead, do the mastectomy. I understand that. I understand why you'd want to do that. And she says, but the preliminary diagnosis might not be what the final path report would be. And I said, no, what you find today, if it's cancer, go ahead. I woke up never even feeling like that it had been done. And I had peace about it the whole time, what my decisions were. And she only no cancer in the original site, and there was only one lymph node that had cancer in my armpit. In those days, they couldn't test the lymph nodes like they can do today, and so she took like 32 lymph nodes all out. And even the final path report, only the one lymph node had the cancer in it. So we're good. And so, but we did follow up this time. I did do the radiation, the chemo first for several months, and then I followed up with the radiation for several months. So I have now been cancer-free since, for 22 years.
Nothing else really phased you?
Well, I will say it was challenged at times. Also, I will tell people that make sure you know who's surrounding you. I literally had people in church said, be careful believing for God for your healing, because basically they were criticizing the path that I was taking. But we want to make sure we link arms with people that are like-minded and for us, and not people that aren't going to be like that. So it was more challenging with people. You know, they question me about my decisions, and so it does make you sometimes like, well, did I hear of God? But for the most part, I do think having young children, they were a good distraction, that I was going to live and not die and raise my kids. So my mother, she died when I was only 26, and I'm an only child. So the fact, I'm not perfect mom, but I'm their mom. And so I didn't want to leave them, you know, at any age, really, you know. But the things I think about, because I know many people that can't say these things, I know dear friends that have gone on before me that have died of different cancers, even breast cancer. So my God, I don't know why things happen sometimes. I just tell people when I give my testimony to them, my path is not their path, that they have to do whatever God leads them to, whatever decisions they make is just to follow the peace. I've just always stood on the God in Jeremiah 29:11, that he has a plan and a purpose for all of us. And he still has plans for me and plans that I need to live out. Jesus said, my grace is sufficient for you, and for my power is made perfect in your weakness. So, and I always, Jeremiah 29:11, sometimes I feel like we stop short. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will hear you. You will seek me, find me. When you seek me with all your heart, I will be found by you, declares the Lord. Just love that. I feel like we don't say the whole thing. I think we've stopped too short on that verse. So it's like, we can find him. He will be found. He's not, he wants to be found by us.